Dear friends, today I am going to speak about the greatest brain drain in the world. Do you know what the greatest brain drain in the world is? That of Hindus. It started, of course, as indentured laborers in Mauritius and other places where coolies and workers went from India and the British rule. And then in the 60s, we saw that many Indian students, for want of better opportunities, started going to the UK. In the 1780s, it was the US and Canada. And today, in 2019, we see that even friends of the BGP, RSS, you ask them where the children are, and they say they're going to the US, they're studying in Harvard, they're studying in McGill University, they're studying in Sorbonne in Paris. I find this very sad because one can understand that in those days, when Nehru was taxing Indians so much, when there were not no opportunities in India, people would send their children abroad. But today, there's no reason. India is doing well. It's going to become a superpower. It needs the brains of its children. And yet, what happens? These children that go to the US to study, eventually they get a green card, they settle, they become US national. The children are brought up in the US, speak like Americans, have no clues about their Hinduness, and their great grandchildren never come back to India. It's a total loss to India. On top of that, most of these people have no gratitude. We see that in the US that people who have become engineers or IT people, um, they got free education in India and they don't have much gratitude towards India. We gave them a lot. So it's important to reverse that brain drain. And I think the government of India started doing something with the OCIs, and the incentives for Indians settled abroad to come back. But I know quite a few Indians, US Indians, who love India, love their country, and they try to come back, and they found it very difficult still to function in India. Too many taxes, too many rules, too much red tape, too much corruption. So it's important that Mr. Modi brings back all these brains. Because if you see, in the UK, 75% of doctors are of Indian origin, most of them Hindus. In the US, 60% of the Silicon Valley is Indian origin, Hindu. Some of the greatest companies in the world, like Google and others, their CEOs are Indians, Hindus. So if you look at China, the Chinese came back to China. The Chinese government, which is communist, managed to give a pride of being Chinese. What Indians lack, what Hindus lack, is the pride of being Indians. This is missing so much because in education, in the government, in the curriculum, there is nothing about India, nothing about the greatness of India. You don't learn about your heroes, heroines, about the tragedies of your history, about the invasions, about the proud to be Indian. I'm a Frenchman. I was taught and brought up proud to be a Frenchman. My poets, the great writers, the great warriors, Napoleon, Joan of Arc. No, so we grew up proud to be French. But most Indians don't grow up proud to be Indian. So they want to go abroad. And once they're abroad, they melt, they merge, into America or Canada or Great Britain, and they're lost to India. So India needs to do two things to make it easier to start business, at least for the OCI people, for Indians, It should be easier to start a business in India. It is not. Mr. Modi thinks that it is, but it is not so. And the second thing is, have a pride to be Indian. Come back to help India, to make India great. India is a future superpower. It's going to be on par with China. It's going to be economically important, geopolitically, because of its position, with Kashmir and Afghanistan and so many countries which are boiling. India is a place of stability, of peace, of goodwill. So it's very important that Mr. Modi helps NRIs to come back to India. And we need to reverse that brain drain, which is going on. Every time I'm in Delhi and I see these long queues of Indians, in front of the American embassy, being treated like dogs, like cattle, by 7 rings of security, I feel ashamed. As a lover in India, I feel ashamed. And I hope that one day Westerners will queue in front of Indian embassies abroad or high commissions and apply for visa for this land of opportunity, this land of beauty, this land of future. So please, Mr. Modi, help you and our eyes to come back here and make India great. Namaste.